Hello and welcome to Great Questions with. I have my friend Melissa Braga with us from New Being Wellness. Good afternoon, Melissa. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I just live in the dream, my friend. So, Melissa, I asked you to come on the show today because I want to talk a little bit about mold and the dangers of mold. So, we would joke a little bit before the show. A lot of times, if people think they have mold, if there's a spot on the wall, they'll try to bleach it out, or they'll just, like, it can't be mold. It must just be me. What are some of the signs that maybe you do have mold in the workplace or in your home? How would I know?
First thing is that a lot of times mold, you don't have to actually see it to have it. So a lot of times they're in places that you don't realize. So when we have things like food sensitivities, allergies, respiratory issues, those are the common, like the coughing and wheezing, that's what you usually see. But it's actually been shown that there is a lot of, especially with kids, you can see like behavioral changes, mood swings, aggression, difficulty concentrating, so that brain fog. And that can have a lot of neurological effects with your with kids, but also yourself. So another thing would be, I've seen a lot of people diagnosed, with chronic fatigue or digestive issues, problem like painful bloating, hormone imbalances. All of those are any type of toxic overload, but a lot of times it could be mold. So I was just looking into a study, and it's kind of interesting because they actually reported, it was a study in 2020 that reported exposure to mold and mycotoxins that actually can alter the functions of the nervous system, but also internal secretion glands. So basically, it could lead to autoimmune issues, and tick-like motions. So there's a lot that it can actually affect.
But I guess, Melissa, we wouldn't jump to it's mold. We would probably misdiagnose it, never really getting to mold, like, oh, it's this, or something in your diet, or we're probably not going to jump to mold until we've ruled out everything else, right?
Yeah, so unfortunately, with the medical, a lot of the medical society, they kind of don't look at that right away. They'll look at all these other things, and then they do normally kind of go through and diagnose or label it as something, but we haven't really gotten to the root cause, which could actually be the mold that might be hidden in certain areas of your house. So things, they could be hidden anywhere. So like they develop like on and colony over time. So basically, you can't see them on routine checks, and they can go through and become like a more significant issue. So behind walls. So a lot of times you might find like an odor per se. So like an earthy odor, that can be an indicator of mold growth. And that's usually because of the what they call microbial vital, I can't even say it, microbial volatile organic compounds, which is MVOCs, right? So that's what they actually feed on. Um, and then it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get an odor. So sometimes it can also be like this fuzzy, discolored patches that you can see, and that's when you usually associate mold. But it can actually be a subtle discoloration of on your surfaces. And they actually kind of blend in. And a lot of people will just think it's ordinary wear and tear or water damage. So obviously, if you've had water damage, you definitely want to check with the mold, because that's most likely could occur. Um, and so those are pretty much the two main things that people think of when they find mold, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not in your home or somewhere that you are working, or constantly at.
But Melissa, occasionally we'll see an article in the paper where there'll be a brand new building built and it has mold. And people like, it literally just got built, Melissa. How did it get mold? So how did they miss it?
So, I mean, it's could be the water, because when they're building something, we have wood, right? It's built
Yep.
out of wood, and then it's in the atmosphere. We have the environmental, just toxins, you know, so the indoor outdoor air pollution,
Yep.
that will cause that with the, you know, the dew, the water, rain, whatever, and it gets infiltrated, and it might not be visible right away to when they're continuing doing their construction, so they just go right over it and it's not even noticed. And then it just builds. It can grow pretty fast underneath everything without even recognizing, or even just like a miss, when they're doing plumbing, a miss of a leaky valve, something of the sorts, and now it's internally leaking just a slight bit and you don't realize it. So it's causing that humidity, that mold.
So, Melissa, do you have any advice on how we can be cautious to try to prevent mold in our home or business?
Yes. So, um, obviously this is not medical advice.
Yeah.
Got to put that out there. But you want to limit toxins. So like beauty products, cleaners, pesticides, that can actually help reduce overall toxic load. So when we have a lot of toxins already and then we're exposed to mold, it just kind of overrides the body. So if we already have a lower toxic load, that will help. Keeping drainage pathways open. So that's basically, it can minimize some of the reactions that you're getting. So bowel function is really important. Making sure that you are having bowel movements. So a lot of times if, you know, you can do castor oil packs. I talk a lot about enemas. Magnesium is a good one. Exercise to get things moving and flowing. And then your lymphatic drainage too. So people forget about the lymph nodes. So dry brushing, bouncing is really good on a rebounder, or there's these things called vibration plates. Those are really good for really getting things kind of flowing and moving. And then there's always supporting herbs as well. And then your liver, gallbladder, because your liver and your gallbladder are really important because they detoxify a lot of things. But again, if it's sluggish, not working properly, or it's overloaded with toxins, you want to help that kind of heal. So red light therapy is really good. Coffee enemas, flushes like gallbladder, liver flushes, and then some herbs for that. And then you want to always like hydrate, obviously. And then I would always advise that you work under a care of a practitioner, even with some of these external therapies, to make sure that they're the right ones for you. And you can always get, there are tests out there for the mold exposure to see if you do have any mold exposure. There's companies, and there's also some tests that you can purchase online that I usually recommend to my clients too.
So, Melissa, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? How can they learn more?
So you can reach out to me via Facebook at New Being Wellness LLC. I'm also on Instagram. You can also call the office at 978-954-7310, or go on my website, which is www.newbeingwellness.com.
Melissa, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to call into the show. And as always, thanks for being my friend.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.